This podcast contains explicit content and is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Don't say we didn't warn you.
Hi, and welcome. My name is Madison.
And I'm Hannah.
And you are listening to Who's Knocking?
Yet another true crime podcast.
Here we go on episode 30-something. My children are screaming in the background. If you can hear them, please ignore them. I can't do anything about it. But yeah, we're here with another episode. But what's going on in the true crime world right now? We were just discussing, one is the whole Sherry Papini thing about Sherry Papini, who her story did the rounds a while ago. She was kidnapped and branded and tortured by these two alleged Mexican ladies, and then subsequently dumped on the side of the road. Turns out she lied about the whole thing, and it was fake the whole time.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy that she would lie about something like that. And then like there was GoFundMe's and people gave money, and she ended up with over like $200,000, I think, in compensation, and actually governmental compensation as well. And she was a liar. She's like Casey Anthony level liar.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways not as bad because
she didn't kill anyone.
Nobody got murdered,
but it's
just like why?
Her ability to lie like that.
Yeah.
It's just impressive, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah. When I lie, I'm like, I'm not a good liar.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Like haunts me.
But to me, it's like people who lie, it's not that they're consciously good at being liars. It's just, they're just so used to lying at that point. It's just what they do.
Yeah. It's like, it has to be that like you like create your own reality, just live there, which is fucked. I also watched recently, there was a suggestion from a subscriber to watch the Forgotten West Memphis 3, which is an Oxygen little documentary series, and I watched the whole thing, and it's a little older.
Did you like it?
Yeah. I mean, the Oxygen stuff is always like, I don't know. I feel like it's so much less information than the time allotted. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like a lot of time, little information. But it's this guy, and I don't think he's not part of the Innocence Project, but like he works to like wrongly accuse people off, and et cetera. But basically the whole series is kind of about like, okay, everybody knows the West Memphis 3 didn't do it, and we believe that, but like, what about the boys? Like, who killed the boys? And it basically comes down to like, it really looks like fucking Terry Hobbs did it. Everybody thinks Terry Hobbs did it. It really looks like Terry Hobbs did it.
They think the West Memphis 3 did it.
No.
Some people think that.
Yeah, but some people think anything. Like you could say like, there's flat earthers. Like no matter, there's still people who think Amanda Knox did it, and she clearly didn't do it. So I don't know. I think I'm not in that camp of people. Obviously, if people are, fine. If there's evidence that they did it, I would love to see it.
Yeah.
Not a single person has, to my knowledge, presented evidence of that. But what they found in this documentary series was that there was a hair found in the knots of the shoelaces that were used to tie the boys up with. Mm-hmm. Meaning that it would have had to be there like when they were tied up, not like, it's very reasonable to assume that like Terry Hobbs'
You don't
DNA,
think it could have just been on them already? Like a hair that could just be.
It could, but not stuck in the knot that was used to tie them up. That indicates more that it was that person was present when that knot was being tied. And it's not definite that it is Terry Hobbs's hair. It's that they can't exclude him from the
Oh,
that hair,
well,
which
yeah, that's not very conclusive.
It's not conclusive, but he has no alibi. The way that it looks like when the boys went missing and he went to go tell Pam, his wife, the mother of Stevie Branch, who he was the stepfather of, and who he had, according to many people, he had a history of abusing the boy and the other children.
That's fucked up.
It looks like he knew that the boys were missing, and he, instead of like waiting for her to come home or bringing her home, he specifically went to the place of her work, which was like I think it was a grocery store or something like that, and got police to meet them there instead of meeting them at home, instead of coming home with her, to keep her away from the home, essentially. Which doesn't
he does seem
sense.
really sketchy. Yeah, he does seem sketchy.
If you really believe that your 8-year-old boy is missing and very well might show up at home, you don't go and like chill with the police in another location for no reason. Yeah. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah.
That was super sketchy. And Jim Clemente was in the documentary as well, and he made a profile of the killer, and Terry Hobbs matched it like 100%.
Oh, really? What was it? Like middle-aged?
It was like mid-30s-ish, like somebody in their 30s, somebody who knows the boys well, or like one or more of the boys very well.
Yeah, can convince them to go with them.
History of domestic violence, check. Somebody who works like as a hunter or butcher, or like a meat slaughtering, whatever. He worked at a slaughtering house.
Oh my God.
The way that he tied them up, basically, because what he found when he was looking at the crime scene photos was that they were tied up.
Yeah, they're tied up in a weird way. They
were bound, like their right hand bound to the right foot, left hand bound to the left foot. So it wouldn't have rendered them
on their backs.
It was like when they were in the water. So like there's a picture you can see, it's like of them like lying down on their backs. Sorry, I'm away from the mic, so you probably can't hear. And so like their legs are bent, and then their hands are tied to their ankles.
I've never seen those crime scene photos. I didn't know they were out there.
Well, you could just see like they only showed like the leg, like they didn't show the whole.
Okay, yeah.
Although actually, I have seen. There. Pretty sure I've seen photos of their entire bodies, which is haunting.
Yeah, where did you find those?
I have no idea. That's your area of expertise generally.
The crime scene Reddit.
Yeah.
I unintentionally stumbled upon it,
but what Jim Clemente
became scarred for life.
Yeah. Well, God, the Jeffrey Dahmer one's like, I'll never sleep again. But what he was finding based on those pictures was that they were bound. They were probably bound post-mortem, not to keep them from moving anywhere, but to make them more compact so that they'd sink down under the water and like be hidden better. And so they were really tied more like somebody who would be like meat packing, or like, you know, somebody who knew how to package meat, essentially. That's like what the bindings were more similar to, rather than them being used to restrain the boys.
So creepy.
Sorry, my phone. Yeah, it's horrifying, but like he basically thinks that, and I think a lot of people's theories is that somebody was there with the boys, and there was some punishment that went too far, and the other two were probably witnesses to this, so he figured he had to kill them too in order to like keep that quiet. And then he hid them and hoped that nobody would find out it was that person, and that's what happened. And also, Terry Hobbs was never looked into. He was never interrogated by the police, which is shocking. You should first look to the dads. Obviously, the other two dads had very solid alibis. So he also got one of his friends to lie about his alibi.
That's very sketchy.
It's
like, why would you do that if you had a real one?
So if we're looking at like between Damien and Terry Hobbs, like at least one of them has some like very suspicious aspects, a possible DNA thing. And there's also DNA evidence that they can test, but the motherfuckers keep trying to not let that happen. It might be happening right now for all we know. But during the time of that documentary, the what is it, the DA or whatever, just like refused to answer the guy's calls. So he's like, I'm trying to test this
do
DNA.
that.
Yep. They could just ignore you.
Wow.
Anyway, this has gone on for a long time, but clearly this case is very, this is a big case. And
yeah,
I think like everybody who knows about it wants to see it come to some sort of actual conclusion, because
it
really never has.
It's also because it seems like it could be solved, but it just isn't being solved
very easily.
Yeah.
It's not something. It is. Yeah, no, I agree. So anyway, if anyone else has any thoughts, if anybody has any evidence against the boys, I would gladly see it.
If you agree or disagree that they're innocent.
They fucking are.
I think they probably are, but I don't know 100% sure.
I would bet a lot of money on it.
Yeah, I think
but I bet my life. I don't know, but
that's what I mean. Like, I don't know 100% sure, but like,
I would bet all the money I have. I would do that. That's how far I would take it. I wouldn't bet my own children's lives, because like I just wouldn't really bet that on anything. But I bet all the money I had. I'm like that sure. I'm in that camp. Anyway, let's get into the episode.
Okay.
So this is a weird one. It's not that. No, it's pretty weird. I'll just say that it's pretty weird. And today we're talking about the murder of Mackenzie Lueck, and specifically her murderer, whose name is in the title, but I'll get to that when I get to that. But I'll start with Mackenzie. So Mackenzie was born on October 26th, 1996, and she was raised in the small beach town of El Segundo, California. And that was along with her 3 brothers, one of them older and 2 of them younger. And their family were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They were Mormons. In high school, Mackenzie swam on the swim team and participated in water polo. She also started a club on breast cancer awareness with her friend Kara Barbie. And they were she was just involved with girls who were very interested in pumping up their extracurriculars for their college applications, like very good in school, impressive ladies. Kara described Mackenzie as a really great person who everyone gravitated towards. Quote, honestly, I didn't know anyone who didn't like her, end quote. So she was well liked. She was a nice girl from a seemingly nice family, and nobody had anything bad to say about her. In 2019, Mackenzie was 23 years old and a student at the University of Utah. So she moved from California to Utah to study at the University of Utah. She was majoring in pre-nursing and kinesiology, which, if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's essentially the study of movement. And in this case, it's used to describe a form of therapy that uses muscle monitoring or biofeedback to look at what might be causing imbalances in the body, and it attempts to relieve these imbalances. I feel like that was a really popular area of study for a long time. Like I knew a lot of people studying kinesiology.
Oh, I've never really heard of it.
I feel like a lot of athletes, I used to be a gymnast, and a lot of people I know who were gymnasts, I feel like studied that.
That makes sense.
She was also in the Alpha Chi Omega sorority. I feel like Chi is like pronounced differently, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Correct me, Greeks. And her life in the sorority was very consuming. Members were required to maintain a 2.5 GPA and attend a certain number of social events, and also take part in the sorority's philanthropic projects. Their charity was mainly work focused on domestic violence towards women. And it's very interesting because although Mackenzie came from a Mormon family and she moved from California to Salt Lake City, Utah, which is like Mormon central, she really started veering away from the church while she was in university, and she started really getting interested in like women's issues and feminism and not Mormonism.
Interesting.
But it did seem like she was having a pretty typical college experience and, pretty much thriving and loving it.
Cool.
Now, while in Salt Lake City, Mackenzie's friend said she had at least 2 pretty serious boyfriends, but they hadn't worked out, either of them, but she was actively dating at the time. And so in June of 2019, Mackenzie took a trip back to El Segundo to attend the funeral of her grandmother who had recently passed away and spend some time with her family. And then on June 20th, 2019, at approximately 4 p.m., Gregory Lewick, who was Mackenzie's father, contacted the Salt Lake City Police Department and told them that he was having trouble getting in touch with his daughter, Mackenzie.
Uh-oh.
So she had flown back to Utah on the 17th. And upon arrival, she had texted her mom, quote, "landed, love you, mama," end quote. After that, the family heard nothing and no school friends had seen her. So Gregory requested the police do a wellness check. So this was 3 days post her landing in Utah. When the police arrived at her apartment, they found her car was parked out front. Nothing in the unit seemed to suggest any sort of foul play. So they didn't do too much, but they did deem her a missing person, as her family requested that.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, they started doing a bit of an investigation. So they looked through the airport security footage. They were able to confirm that Mackenzie did make it to the Salt Lake City airport, where she then left in a Lyft at 2:40 a.m. And after that, nobody knew where she went. The police were not really taking things as seriously as Mackenzie's friends and family would have liked. Her university friends were out full force, giving out flyers with Mackenzie's picture and description and speaking to the media and begging Mackenzie to contact them, but nothing.
Ugh.
The police stated that she was 23 years old. She was allowed to take off without telling anyone. And that very well could have been what Mackenzie was doing, but her friends and family were not convinced of this at all. This was completely unlike her, and everybody was really worried about her.
If it's unlike them, it's like,
well, yeah,
suspicious.
And like you land and say like, "I'm here," and then just like never get back to anybody. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So the police finally ended up getting in touch with the Lyft driver that she took a ride from. And he told them that he did pick up Mackenzie, but he didn't drop her at home. Instead, she requested to be driven to Hatch Park in North Salt Lake. And this was a regular park with like a playground and stuff. And there, the Lyft driver said, she met with a man, and the driver helped her transfer her luggage from his car to the man's car. The Lyft driver could not provide a maker, model, or license plate number of the car, nor could he provide a description of the man. I feel like it would be so lucky to be like, "Oh yeah, I just like remembered the license plate number."
Yeah, why would he remember the license plate? There's no way.
But it's like, you don't even remember what he looked like. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that's true if you weren't paying attention.
And it was nighttime. Anyway, the driver said it was kind of unusual to drop somebody at a park at 3 a.m., but she seemed to know the man she met, and the driver didn't think there was anything suspicious about it, so he just dropped her and left. Fair. Finally, the police got a hold of Mackenzie's phone records. They discovered that Mackenzie had been in contact with a man named Ayoola Ajayi. In fact, Ayoola was the last person Mackenzie was ever in contact with on her phone. And they confirmed through his IP address that he was the person that met Mackenzie in the park that night.
Shit.
So through that IP address, they also got the address to Ayoola's home. So the police started, and I think there was something about like, there was one thing that her phone did, which was like followed an Instagram account that was like his Instagram account after she had been missing for a while. So weird. So the police started talking with Ayoola. They, invited him down and were asking him things. And he denied everything, including even seeing Mackenzie that night. He then tried to tell the detectives that he was home the night of Mackenzie's disappearance, and he could prove it based on security camera footage of him taken from a security camera that he had set up in his own living room. But he wouldn't actually show the detectives the footage because his lawyer didn't want him to.
Okay.
Not helpful.
Yeah.
He also showed the police that the motion sensor on his front door had not been triggered from around 10 p.m. that night to 6 a.m. the next morning. The officers pointed out, one of them was actually like, oh, I have this system. They were like, you could just turn it off though. Like you could have either deleted that or you could have just turned it off and the same, it would be the same.
Yeah.
And Ayoola was like, he had nothing to say about that.
Of course.
So Ayoola then claimed that he and Mackenzie met online a long time ago, and that on the 16th of June, which was the day before she would have come home, she texted him a question mark. And when he replied, she never did. And he said that was the last time he spoke to her, which is refuted by her cell phone records, but cool.
Yeah.
It was clear that Ayoola was under the impression that all of his phone and internet actions were only documented on his personal devices. He seemed completely unaware that the police could and did go to his service providers to get records of everything, and then everything he was saying was just very easily disputed. I think he thought he could. I guess
he didn't know that.
Yeah, I think he thought he could just be like, oh, erase text messages, and like, poof, they're gone forever.
Yeah,
which like
not how that works.
Dude, if you ever watched any true crime shows, like that's not how it works. So when detectives asked him if they could make a copy of the contents of his phone, he said he would ask his lawyer, and if she thought that was a good idea and okayed it, then he would bring his phone back the next day. And shockingly, he did, although I'm sure he like wiped everything or thought he did. And then the police then used his location data to prove that he was at the park with Mackenzie, and they got themselves a search warrant for his home. Ayoola was not very happy. This
is good police work.
Yeah, they did not start off strong, but it was also like pretty easy because like he's not tech savvy.
Yeah.
He's got like a lot of tech, this guy. And I think he was actually studying tech. We'll get to about him in a little bit.
Okay.
So somewhere in the mix, and this is kind of funny, this man named Rod Joseph enters the mix. While the police, like, we're kind of finding out all about this, like the warrant had gone and this house was being searched, and like media found out about this and we're at the house and everything. And that's when Rod Joseph sees on TV that's going on. And he was an ex-cop turned private eye. And just like listen to this story and like tell me what you think about it.
Okay.
So he says that he randomly met Mackenzie at a bar 3 weeks prior to her going missing. And they had gotten into chatting while at the bar. He's like probably in his 40s. And he said that during this chance random encounter, Mackenzie had happened to mention to him that she was on a dating website called Seeking Arrangements. Now, for anybody who doesn't know that website, it is a website for like the sugar baby, sugar daddy, little exchange situation. And so he claims that she just happened to mention that to him, a complete stranger at a bar that he just happened to be at. And then after seeing her going missing and seeing all the media, that he felt compelled to get involved in the investigation and start looking into things because he just thought she was such a great person that he happened to meet so randomly.
Okay.
So to me, and I'm not trying to defame this man because I don't know, but it sounds like he met her on Seeking Arrangements and went out with her and didn't randomly meet her at a bar.
Like he just didn't want to admit that he was on Seeking Arrangements, basically. Like,
I mean, that's just my speculation. There's some news footage of him being interviewed, and he's, an older man. And I don't know, do you just like randomly meet a young girl at a bar and she just divulges to you that she's on Seeking Arrangements? Like that's and she seems
unlikely.
And that's when people, I don't know, I'm pretty sure this is when people started to realize that she was, and they started looking into her online history and discovering that she was on Seeking Arrangements and that she'd had some relationships out of that. And it kind of made sense. It looks like the two relationships that she had previously been in were like a sugar daddy, sugar baby situation. And friends said that Mackenzie had been taking her time with her classes and had gone down to some part-time hours in order to spend more time working. to pay her way through university. So I think it's like a pretty classic story that a lot of young college girls start doing these things so that they can make money while going to school. And it seems like Mackenzie did meet Ayoola on Seeking Arrangements or something like that. I couldn't find confirmation that that's the specific website that they met on, but it was that sort of like arrangement type thing.
Once again, meeting people off the internet.
It's scary.
It's not a good idea.
I got into looking at like, or kind of researching into like the sugar daddy, sugar baby type of situation. And, you know, it's not like a new thing. But it's really dangerous because it kind of, especially for like, because I think it's like 40% of the women on there are like college girls who like literally just want to make money. And it kind of basically is prostitution. Like if we really get down to the foundations of it, which like, you know, do you think, no judgment here, but it is essentially a lot of people try to be like, well, it doesn't have to be a sexual relationship, but like it like 99.9% of the time, like that's what it is. And like the men are on there looking for sexual relationships. We know this. And like you could maybe get some like good experiences out of it or travel or whatever. Cool. But what it does when you and this is like a point that's
so dangerous though, going like,
well, what it does,
going to travel to see somebody you don't know that you met on the internet, it's like they're definitely going to murder you.
Yeah, it gives people, especially young girls, the illusion that it's a safer situation than it is. When it comes down to it, especially
it's so dangerous.
Men, it's the same thing as like meeting a random guy and just like it's the same thing as like regular sex work. And it's just, but it's like made to seem like it's not. And it's made to seem like you're going to form a relationship, which sounds less scary. But at the end of the day, like that's a perfect place for predators to prowl.
Ugh.
Which is exactly what happened here.
That's terrifying.
So just anybody who's into that type of thing, like do your thing, but like just remember
be careful.
It's still as dangerous as regular sex work. You know, it may not seem so scary, but it can be.
And don't trust anyone, especially people you meet on the internet.
Yeah, like my real advice would be like, don't do it. But like, if you're going to do it, that's your choice. Be careful. You never know who's knocking, you know? So the police start looking. So Rod gets involved and he's like, I'm a private investigator. Like, I think he did it. Like, he didn't really add very much to the investigation other than being like, I'm pretty sure he did it.
Yeah. I would like, yeah, I mean, we all think that.
Rod clearly met her somewhere and thought she like, you know, cared enough, like fair.
Yeah.
But the police they got their warrant to look through his house.
Okay.
And they did. And his house, there's lots of body cam footage, which I'll try to like sprinkle about this. We'll see how Aidan decides to put it all in, but of him, like them coming to his house, doing the warrant.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And he is like he's like, they're all pretty amicable. His house is like very neat and tidy.
Oh, interesting.
It definitely, in my opinion, lacks a woman's touch. It looks like it's like, I don't know if you know, like a classic guy's place, but it's just like no art on the wall, like no decor, funny. Just like the furniture that is necessary for the home.
Okay.
But one thing that's very weird about his place is it's full of cameras everywhere, which is pretty sus, especially because he's often renting out to Airbnb. And actually at the time, from before Mackenzie went missing to the time of this warrant taking place, there was a tenant there was an Airbnb guest in the basement who was there the entire time.
Oh my God.
In the bedroom, there's 3 cameras pointing at the bed.
He has those set up?
Yes.
Why do you need 3? Like, why do you need 1? But why do you need 3?
Pointing at your
Please tell
bed.
me.
So, like, I don't know what that's supposed to tell you, but it's something.
It can't be good.
So while he's outside, he calls his lawyer and then he spends some time lying on the ground. It's like a hot day outside.
Okay.
And he's like chatting with the officers. And Ayoola was like, okay, well, I'm going to go wait at this nearby library so I can wait inside. And the police joke with him a little bit. And they're like, okay, cool. We'll like come get you when we're done. Later, the police come by the library where Ayoola was chilling outside under the shade of a tree, and they told him that he was going to be detained and he needed to come speak to the police. He was not under arrest, but he was being detained.
Okay.
So they cuffed him, put him in the, and meanwhile, the media is at his house because they've seen all this go down. So the police brought him down to the station. They start questioning him. They told him that they knew that he had met Mackenzie that night and that she went missing in the park, and they had records of their correspondences, which he had previously lied about. And he was like, it's a glitch. It's a glitch.
Oh, okay.
You're like, that's
sure,
not
dude.
a thing. Like, you can't just say that.
Yeah, like you just. Mm-hmm.
So the Airbnb guests and the neighbors also had some things to say. Apparently, on the 17th and 18th of June, Ayoola had lit a big fire in his backyard with gasoline and had been seen burning things. And this fire was accompanied by a foul odor.
Oh, God.
So not sure why nobody called the cops. Like, you're aware that somebody is burning something and that the burning is accompanied by a very foul smell, like, fucking call someone.
I guess, yeah.
What's the worst that could happen?
That's true.
Like, I don't know, like, it's not common here to like burn shit in your backyard. Maybe it is in other places.
Yeah, like bonfires.
But like, I've just never in my life, and I've lived in like many houses. I've known people who've lived in houses. Like, nobody here like burns their trash in the backyard or just like lights fires to burn shit. It must be like common elsewhere, like depending on your like garbage situation, whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying in my location, that's not a thing. If somebody just has a huge fire and is burning shit in their backyard, I'd be like, oh, dude, what are you doing? And like, if there is a smell so foul that I'm noticing it, I'm like gonna inquire, maybe. I don't know.
Fair.
I don't know. But I feel like burning your trash is like a more common thing in other places. Maybe. When Ayoola was asked about the fire, he said sometimes he killed goats and sheep in his backyard and made soup.
Hate that.
But then later, when asked if he had killed Mackenzie, he said no way, there's no way he did it because he couldn't kill anything, not even a fish, that he cried whenever his pet fish died. So those two things did not add up.
Yeah, I get your story straight.
Like, okay, what about the goats and the sheep?
Ugh.
When the forensic team dug into the burn site, they were able to find charred remains of a number of items belonging to Mackenzie, as well as some female human tissue, which they later determined to be that of Mackenzie Lewick.
Yeah.
And then he was officially arrested via SWAT team, which seemed like a little much, but like, okay. The detectives later used location analysis from Ayoola's phone, as well as from the reluctant help of Ayoola himself, to locate her charred remains that he had discarded along the Jordan River. Okay. The autopsy revealed that Mackenzie had died from blunt force trauma to the head.
God.
Later, Ayoola began to confess, and he admitted that he had planned to murder Mackenzie before he met her at the park. He turned off his surveillance camera, which they said that's what you did.
Yeah.
Before he brought her home.
So annoying.
Then he strangled her and beat her to death. He initially burned her body and buried her and her belongings in his backyard. And then he later dug her up and moved her body to the location where the police found her along the Jordan River.
That's crazy. Like, he just murdered her for the sake of killing her, basically.
Yes, essentially. So, who the fuck is Ayoola Ajayi? You might be wondering. Here's what we know. And there's like a lot, but like not a lot. Okay. So at the time of Mackenzie's disappearance, Ayoola was a 32-year-old tech support worker living in Salt Lake City, Utah. So
tech support.
How are you a tech support worker and you don't know how fucking tech works?
Yeah.
Like how histories work.
You should know.
That's like insane to me.
Right.
Ayoola was originally from Nigeria, and he was born there in 1988. And he moved to the United States in 2009 on a student visa. And he was taking classes in computer science at Utah State University.
Okay.
So while studying in Utah, he got really interested in Mormonism, as one does. And he joined up and got himself baptized.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you could just do that.
Oh, yeah. The Mormons are big recruiters.
Oh, okay.
They're always trying to get you. But they're really
like
nice
Scientology.
Yeah, you know, do you ever see those guys out? They go on like missions. Like once they reach a certain age, they're like big project is like to pick a place in the world, and then they get sent there and they have to wear their little name tags and like go house to house.
Yes.
I met some of them in Calgary once, and they gave me a Book of Mormon. Nice guys.
That's cool. They just give them out.
Oh yeah. They're like hardcore into recruiting, but not as bad as the Jehovah's Witnesses. They are annoying as hell. Anyway, sorry if you're a Jehovah's Witness, but you're fucking annoying.
You're probably not listening to this if you are. Somehow I have a feeling.
Yeah, I don't know. In 2011, Ayoola spent some time in Dallas, Texas. And while he was there, he got married to a woman named Tanisha Jenkins, and she was a mother of 4. It became clear that this was not a legit marriage, but an attempt to gain American citizenship. I really think too that
respect, honestly.
Yeah, I think that him joining Mormonism was him seeing the Mormon way of life, and it was like, oh, they all get married really early and they like just like couple up. I could probably get married if I joined the Mormon church, basically.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't think he had any interest in Mormonism. Tanisha later stated that he had threatened to kidnap her and kill her if she didn't move to Utah with him.
Hate that.
She also claimed that he had once tried to escape from his presence at a friend's house through the bathroom window, and he grabbed her and attempted to stab her with a butcher's knife, and she was cut up pretty badly in her hands and arms as a result. There's some footage I have of an interview of her saying all this, and it's pretty frightening.
When I first met him, he was a good person. He was doing stuff for my kids, and it's like, in the long run, I can't explain this, but he was like real aggressive, because he wanted me to remove her. You talked to be with him, and I told him no, and he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do something to you if you don't come down here and move down here. So a guy that was in the army with him called my phone private and said they was gonna find out where I was gonna be at, and they was gonna kidnap me.
Can you just talk me through what happened when he attacked you with the knife?
Okay, I was trying to get out the window. We was at his friend's house, and he closed the window down, and I jumped through the window, and he had a butcher knife, was trying to stab me with the knife, and I ended up cutting my hand.
He cut you with the butcher's knife?
Yeah, like, I was trying to grab the knife out his hand because he was trying to stab me in my hand, but I had to, like, try to grab the knife out his hand, and it cut me. Like, I had all 3 of these cut.
How dangerous do you think he is? Like?
To me, to be honest, he real dangerous, because it's like something about him. He was started being a sweet person, and he started being aggressive, and it's like his personality, it was good in the long runs, and then it was started off bad, and like he was real aggressive.
That's, yeah.
And after this incident, she fled and left Ajayi for obvious reasons, and she pretty much had to go into hiding and change her number to escape him.
Wow.
But she didn't like legally divorce him. She was just like getting the fuck out of there. In 2012, when he was no longer a student at the Utah State University, he was still found hanging around campus. And it's unclear what exactly he was doing to rouse the campus authorities' suspicions and whatever, but they decided to contact ICE and let them know that he wasn't attending classes anymore, which was a violation of a student visa.
Yeah.
But
it's weird. It's like, why are you there?
Yeah. And I don't know why he didn't get like kicked out of the country or whatever, but he's technically still married to Tanisha. So maybe that had something to do with it, but it was so obviously a like fake marriage. So I don't know. That's a little bit unclear. But later He was arrested by the campus police, who claimed that he had stolen a university iPad, and apparently he was using it to search for women online. At this time, Ayoola, again, was still technically married to Tanisha, but he was actively searching for someone else. I think for like a marriage or whatever, but also maybe for these nefarious reasons that he like got with Mackenzie.
Yeah.
In November of 2014, Ayoola was reported for rape. The woman who made the claim said that Ayoola had texted her asking to come over to his house, and she did. And when she didn't want to have sex with him, he raped her.
Wow.
This woman didn't want to press charges, but she wanted the incident on file in case he tried to do it again. Now, at the beginning of 2015, Ayoola tried to join the Utah Army National Guard, but apparently he joined, was a part of it, but he did not meet the medical procurement standards, and he didn't attend any of the training. So he was discharged in June of the year. Kind of random, but whatever. That fall, he went back to Utah State with a different visa. Online, Ayoola made a bunch of claims. He wrote that he attended both Utah State University and the London South Bank University. This was a straight up lie. The London South Bank University had no record of him ever being there, nor is there any record of him ever being in England ever. He also boldly claimed to be a model. Apparently he did sign with some very shitty talent agency and had one job in 2013, and that was the extent of his modeling career, but he did go on to claim model status.
That's modeling.
Ayoola also joined a Mormon singles club, and while he was still technically married to Tanisha, he used the contact information to start seeking out women and asking them out, and thankfully all of them denied him. It was like he it's kind of sketchy, I guess, but maybe not. Like there was like a sign-up sheet or whatever, and he would just go through it and just like start lurking at women and being creepy to them.
That's creepy.
One of Ayoola's friends described him as like a super nice guy. He was an Airbnb host who was really great to his guests. He would have people over to his house to cook and hang out and have a good time. And he was always very kind and courteous. But he did say that at times he could fly into a rage over really small things. Like if the furniture was arranged incorrectly or somebody tried to do something that was like not the way he wanted to do it, he would just like get in a huge rage, but then he would always calm down and go back to being his nice normal self.
That's pretty creepy.
He was also the author of a book that he self-published.
Oh.
This book was called Forge Identity. The book was about a 15-year-old boy named Ezekiel who witnessed an angry mob burn his neighbor alive in the street. And Ezekiel then goes through some sort of hero's journey to escape the life of crime he was born into. And the reviews are very bad.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very good.
Sounds very bad. But he did write this book. Yeah. So during the investigation, so that's what we know about him, but we really only know about who he was and like what type of person he was while in America. We don't really know anything about his like childhood or his family life or anything. Like he appears to be the only family member over here. So his life in Nigeria until from 1988 to 2009, we really don't know anything about.
Interesting.
Now, the creepy shit is that, so during the investigation, there was this contractor who came forward and told the police after he saw Ayoola on TV. Mm-hmm. He said that Ayoola had tried to hire him to build a secret soundproof room under his front porch.
Oh my God.
He wanted a lock on the door that was only accessible by his thumbprint.
Oh my God. What do you want that for?
And he also wanted large hooks mounted up on the concrete walls.
Yeah.
And so the contractor was very weirded out by this. Ayoola said that he wanted this room to listen to music in and to hide alcohol from his Mormon girlfriend that he did not have.
Definitely not.
And the contractor was like, no, I will not build this. And he got the fuck out of there. And there's
good call.
A bit of an interview with him. But it's kind of a shame that the contractor didn't like go to authorities and be like, yo, the guy's like trying to do something. Like there's a lot of incidents in this story where like it's like, yo guys, like,
But here's the thing, it's like if you go to the police sometimes with something like that, they're like, well, technically a crime has not been committed. Like, there's what can we possibly do?
yeah, no, I don't think that you could do anything about it, but like it could be on record. And then like, you know, then there was also the girl who was like, he raped me, like it's on file. Like she at least like she's like, I don't want to press charges, like you're probably not going to be able to do anything, but like put this on file. Let's just have this on file, because that way at least you could establish a pattern. And then like the first, I'm not saying that he wouldn't have been able to kill Mackenzie, but at least if he knew that it had sort of a record, it would maybe disincentivize him from doing shit like killing somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, people are suspicious of you. Like
right.
if that guy had gone to the police and the police like showed up at his house and were like, hey, we heard you want to build a soundproof room in your basement that's accessible only by thumbprint and you want big hooks on the wall.
Yeah. Why?
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Just let us know why.
Then he would at least be like maybe a little bit more reluctant to commit a violent offense like murder.
Yeah, it's possible.
There was also another woman that the police spoke to, and she said she was hired by Ayoola to clean his home, but that she quit after being freaked out by the excessive amount of cameras he had, specifically the 3 cameras.
No sense. Like, why would you have that?
And B, he also asked her to bring her 12-year-old daughter with her to clean.
Yeah.
And she said she said that he gave off a Ted Bundy vibe.
Ugh.
Which is a horrible vibe to give off.
Yeah, not ideal.
Then another woman claimed that she had gone on a date with him once, and while they were back at his place watching TV, he pinned her down and bit her very hard 3 times and then raped her.
Oh.
So another rape allegation.
And
so this man
bit her? Like, what
seems
is
like
that?
a sexual predator.
For sure. Yeah.
And then they found the child porn. This man had a bunch of child porn, all depicting children from ages 4 to 8.
Ooh.
Which is so fucking evil.
That's so scary.
And it's fucking disgusting.
Like, who's making that?
Just foul, disgusting people.
Yeah.
The
like the worst people there.
Scum of the earth.
Yeah.
Which that's like a whole rabbit hole to get down, but that's, oh my God. So after learning all this and all the evidence, on October 7th, 2020, so this is very recent, Ayoola Ajayi accepted a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to first-degree aggravated murder and desecration of a body and received life in prison without the possibility of parole plus 5 years.
Is that to avoid the death penalty?
Yes, this was in exchange for no death penalty. I guess Utah still has the death penalty.
I guess he wants to live.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
He also pleaded guilty to second-degree forcible sexual abuse for a 2008 rape case. Okay. And he had another 15 years added to his sentence for that. And because of all that, he got the child porn charges dropped since he wasn't going anywhere anyway.
I guess, yeah.
But I wonder if the other guys in jail know about it, because that doesn't do you well in the clink. When asked why he killed Mackenzie, the only explanation Ayoola gave was that he wanted to feel what it was like to kill someone.
No. So
many believe that Ayoola was a serial killer in the making.
Probably.
And judging by the project he wanted completed in his basement, it sounds like
it's weird to me that he just wanted to murder someone, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the real question, is like, fucking why? Like, what went on in your childhood? I want to know.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find that, and there's nothing from his family. Mackenzie's family is very quiet too. They don't really seem to speak out much.
Yeah, that's fair on their part for sure.
Yeah, and I think to me, I think one of the shittiest parts about this for Mackenzie specifically is that like I feel like a lot of people kind of like the last thing people found out about her is that she was on like a sugar baby website and whatever. Right. And like I feel like people really judge her for that, especially like, you know, she came from a religious community and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like that's really shitty.
Yeah.
And And like she seemed like a nice person to me. Like I would never judge somebody for something like that. That's especially like a young college girl. Like I wouldn't want the last things that I was doing when I was that age to be like what gets memorialized for me
neither.
after death. Like that would be shocking. So that's, I think, the most unfortunate thing for her. It's kind of like in the Adam Strong case, the Rory, what's her last name? The two girls he killed, they were just, at kind of like shitty points in their lives, but they were so young. It's like, who knows what you're going to do after that.
Yeah, we're all kind of bad at that age.
Yeah. So that's really shitty. But also like this guy just seems like he seems like he came off as like really nice and super normal, and he tricked a lot of people, but he was like really fucked up under the surface, which is terrifying.
I feel like you could seem normal based on the fact that he didn't grow up in America. So if he had like any tendencies that didn't seem like typical behavior, I feel like if you just are nice, like if you act kind of nice, people are like, oh, this is just your culture. Like, why would you, Yeah. Just I'm sure that allowed him to blend in a way.
Yeah. It seems like people, even friends and stuff that he knew, were like, yeah, like there was some weird, like he did seem to like have a temper, and that seems like to be associated with people who like want to like rage kill. Like it seems like he like lured her in and then just like viciously murdered her for seemingly no reason.
Yeah, that's what really gets to me. It's like, why? And why her?
Which I wonder if she had, like, if he like lured her in and then she like rejected him and it made him angry, because that's what it kind of seemed like happened with Tanisha. Like as soon as she was,
I could buy that,
trying to get away from him, he's like trying to stab her.
I could buy that, because for her, she's like, yeah, she's bringing a suitcase. She's meeting him in a park, which is like sketchy for her. Like, I wish she would have known that's like such a red flag that he's asking her to do that. But like, maybe she thought, yeah, I'm bringing a suitcase, I'm sleeping over. But maybe she said to him, like, I don't necessarily want to take it further than a friendship or whatever. Like, just because she's going over there, it doesn't mean she's consenting necessarily to whatever he wanted to do.
No, for sure. So. And if they met on like a seeking arrangements type of thing, I'm sure he probably like portrayed himself to be like wealthy or whatever. Maybe she found out that definitely. He wasn't. He was like fine, I think. But, like,
can you just go? Like, I thought like had to be rich to like go on those websites.
I don't think so.
So, man,
I think
you can just lie about it.
Well, I don't know if they ask for proof, but I'm sure even if they do, it's fakeable.
Ugh, creepy.
Yeah, I have no idea. I wonder.
That's scary.
Anybody who knows, let us know if you've had experience. I don't know. I just find that whole world very fascinating and scary.
Yes.
Yeah. So since her death, Mackenzie's friends started a nonprofit, not-for-profit, called Mackenzie's Voice to help with other missing persons cases and to provide support for family members. And since then, also, Amazon has removed Ayoola's book from their website.
Oh, good. Yeah, like he doesn't deserve to have a book published.
No, well, he doesn't deserve to profit off, dude.
It. Yeah. No, he doesn't even deserve to have people read his words. Like, get out of here.
Nobody who's read it has liked it. So.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's the story of Ayoola Ajayi and the unfortunate murder of Mackenzie Lueck. And I think it's a very good lesson in like looking out for red flags in individuals.
Yeah.
And
it seems like with him, like it doesn't seem like there was anything obvious probably for her specifically because she didn't know about his past.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just like reinforcing the belief that basically everybody on the internet is a murderer.
Yeah.
Or a predator.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And just don't meet anybody from the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You really,
I mean, if you can verify their, like, you know what I mean? If it's somebody that's like, no, even if you know somebody who knows somebody, they could still be a murderer.
So. I married somebody off the internet. So in a way, like my actions don't
Okay.
match that. But
one time it works out.
But no, I think the point still stands, and you should always assume. And like, that's when I first went out with Chris, I was like, I mentioned like 3 times, I was like, you obviously could be a serial killer.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm not gonna kill you.
You might though.
But I was like obviously that's
it's very likely that you would. And just so you know,
thought.
like, yeah, I'm aware.
So that's how you should treat meeting people on the internet.
Yes.
And there's some really fucked up cases about meeting people on the internet. And I guess, I don't know, I've always been very like, that's always been at the front of my mind when I think about meeting people online. But for some people, it's just not.
Yeah. I mean, it's all I could think of in that scenario.
So yeah, let us know if you have heard about this case before, if you have any thoughts, if you know anything about the previous history of Ayoola Ajayi. I think it's Ajayi. And yeah, reach out. I'm still interested in suggestions, like true crime documentary suggestions, etc. I just watched the Wayne Gacy tapes. Those are fucked up on Netflix. They seem to be coming out with a lot of different, like there's like the Ted Bundy tapes, the Richard Ramirez tapes. I actually haven't watched those, but the Wayne Gacy ones were fucked up.
He's very terrifying.
He's one of the worst of the worst. Horrible.
Yeah, he's horrifying. So creepy and just horrible. And
the stuff that he was on tape saying was just chilling.
Was it when he was denying everything or when he was confessing?
No, it's when he was confessing.
Yeah.
And just like so matter-of-factly just being like, yeah, like I just treated them like objects because that's what they were to me. It's like,
yeah,
just like raping and hate.
He just seems like somebody. Yeah, sorry if you hear a dog barking. It's my dog. He'll probably stop. He just seems like somebody who like is barely a human.
He's not.
Yeah,
no way.
Like there's just something about him that's just so terrifying.
Yeah, because he's a psychopath who just has no human feelings. He just doesn't have a soul.
Yes, like, exactly. It's so weird.
There's another one I'm working on. I won't say who it is, but I think I might have said it before. But I'm working on a serial killer deep dive, and it's these like top tier, and I don't want to say top tier because that makes it sound good, but like these like the guys who really did a number and who are like the worst of the worst serial killers.
Right.
Like, they're just not people. Like they're soulless people. But at the same time, like that is an aspect of humanity. Like that is, people need to own up to the fact that like these are people too, and these are part of the human experience. These people, like this type of person is still a person. Yeah.
Did you find it interesting hearing him talk?
Wayne Gacy? Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating because I'm interested in that type of thing. But it's like, it's horrifying that somebody that you could have like run into in life could have like just thought of you as so little that they would be willing to just murder you and take you away from everybody who loves you, and it would mean nothing to them. That's fucked up. I can't imagine. Like, I so can't relate.
No.
You know? So, on that light note, let's go to bed.
Okay.
Please reach out to us on Instagram at Who's Knocking Podcast or Pod. Twitter at Who's Knocking Pod. Hello at Who's Knocking Podcast.com. Send us an email. Some do. It's cool. And please stay safe out there, especially if you're on seeking arrangements, because you never know
who's knocking
and who's lurking on the fucking internet, guys. This podcast is produced in collaboration with Lost Line Media. Artwork by August Digital. Music by Matthew Cook.